welcome to another episode of Sit and Spin with me, your host, Joe Royland. Today on the show, the first of a little two-part series we're going to be talking about on a couple of recent alt-rock Americana releases. Now, if you aren't familiar with that term, probably most of you watch this show are, I like to liken it to think of like old-school Donnie Marie-style terms of like a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, not too much of one or the other, but just a kind of a good blend of both, just without the purple socks. But first up in this two-part little endeavor, we have the latest release from Rhett Miller and his new album, The Traveler. Rhett, if you are or not familiar with him, is the lead singer of the band The Old 97s, who we covered on the show here last year. And it is his 7th album overall, solo album if you want, if you don't count his debut album Mythologies, which was actually pre-Old 97s from way back in 1989, or his live album The Interpreter from 2011. But Rhett does this little thing overall where he tends to name all of his albums The Something. So discounting Mythologies and his self-titled album from 2009, it was The Instigator, The Believer, The Interpreter, The Dreamer, and now The Traveler. Rhett's solo stuff tends to be a little bit more delicate and often more laid back and compared to the more raw and raucous sound of the Old 97s. And that's good, because, you know, you want the solo stuff to be a little different, at least, from the regular band, or else what's the point in making a solo record? You might as well just make a record with the band you're in. And also, kind of along those lines, while we're on the subject of it, it seemed that when Rhett first started making solo albums, and the Old 97s had kind of gone on a little bit of a hiatus, it seemed like he'd saved all of his best songs for the solo work. But then when the Old 97s kind of got back together and started making records again, I sensed the shift of like some of his good songs were going more there, and I felt like his solo work kind of suffered for it a little bit. So I wasn't as enamored of the 2009 self-titled record or 2012's The Dreamer, which isn't to say they're bad records. They just didn't necessarily do it for me personally. But The Traveler definitely does. I think it's his strongest set of material and songs since 2006's The Believer, and just an overall really just great, lush record, which is kind of surprising. There's a lot of multi-layered sounds to it, but the album was pretty much essentially recorded live in the studio, along with the band Black Prairie, a group that shares 4 of its members with the band The Decemberists. So if you like The Decemberists and their sound, you definitely might want to check this album out too. But Rhett toured with them a few years back, fell in love with their sound, and just really wanted to make an album with them. So he gathered them up, went to a studio in Portland, Oregon, and also got a little additional help from fellow natives of that area, Peter Buck and Scott McCaughey, also of the band R.E.M., who guest on this album playing a variety of stringed instruments. Traveler opens with the track Wanderlust, which is a song that could have easily been an Old 97s tune, along with the tune Most in the Summertime, which is another one of my favorites off the album. I also like the more pop stylings of the track you're hearing right now, Jewels, as well as songs like Kiss Beyond the Fire Escape and the breezy acoustic-driven Lucky Star. Song Escape Velocity is also features great lyrics, which I can very much relate to, and that's another one of the reasons I really like Rhett Miller, is he's just a great lyricist, as well as just being a music songwriter. Guy writes great lyrics as well. Towards the end of the album, there's also a lot of cool variety. I love very much the haunting gothic graveyard waltz of Dreams versus Waking Life. Cool song, cool vibe on that. The song Good Night is a almost Paul Westerberg style ballad, but just with a countrified style feel to it. And the album closes out with a very Ben Folds 5 piano driven intro to the song Reasons to Live. Kind of a pop feel to it, and then it sort of switches over to a more country sound. But overall, just a solid release from Rhett Miller. He was just here in town last week, but I didn't go see him because I'd just seen the Old 97s like 6 months before, and I figured I could miss it. Would have liked to have gone to the show, but that's okay. I'll catch him another time. But in the meantime, go out and get Rhett Miller's The Traveler. It's out now. So tune in next week when we'll have the second part of this little alt-country Americana thing. You'll have to tune in to find out what's then. In the meantime, hopefully you are checking out my good friend Scott over at Righteous Vinyl, as well as the Riff of the Day guys, and hopefully you checked out the Dig Me Out guys over at the Dig Me Out podcast, I was a guest on the show last week. You missed that. And we will catch you next time on Sit and Spin. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like the page, comment on it if you got something to say, and share it with your friends, especially if it's something you think they might dig. And we appreciate that very much. Till then, we'll see you next time on Sit and Spin. Take it easy.